So, in the discussion about shame, one of the main points is this, that when shame happens as a child, it feels so devastating that it is an overwhelming set of emotions. Okay? Very, very hard for a 3 to 5-year-old child to handle. And because the emotions are so overwhelming, there's a set that occurs, a place where the emotions or the feelings or the situation is frozen, and people, the child can't function. Because what the child feels like is that they're facing annihilation when they're facing shame. So I got into this, and I had a hard time trying to figure out how to explain it, because you can read about it, and there's literature about it, and so forth. But I wound up, just dropped the phone, sorry about that. I wound up with a really good example from my own life, so I want to relate it in a bit of a story. I thought this might help. When my daughter was a year old and she was toddling, she came into the kitchen one day just as I'd taken a casserole out of the oven. And so there I am at the wise age of 20 with a casserole in my hand with the 2 mitts holding it, very liquid, very soggy kind of thing. And I've just taken it out of the oven, so the oven door is open, and my little tiny 1-year-old wanders in, and as I've got the casserole in my hand, I see her take her virgin, beautiful, delicate hand and start to place it directly on the oven door. And there's nothing I can do. Can't drop the casserole, can't put it down fast enough. So the only thing I could do was scream, "Hot!" And apparently, I screamed hot at the very instant that there was any contact whatsoever with the oven door. So my daughter got some kind of cosmic understanding of the word hot that seemed to sear through her entire being, and the message was absolutely clear, and from that point on, hot had great meaning for her. But her hand wasn't burnt. So that was an interesting experience for me. That was an experiential use of the word hot, where you didn't have to teach them and didn't have to let them get burnt. When she was 3, we were in the car, her father and me and her, in the days when there were no seat belts or child carriers and you just kind of sat in the front seat and drove, and we went to get ice cream. And so we're sitting in the car with our ice creams, and my daughter's 3, and she sticks out her tongue to lick the ice cream, and her father, who had an odd sense of humor, looked at her and said, "Hot." And she froze. And her tongue was out, and the tongue was about ½ an inch from the ice cream, and she just sat there, trying to figure out what to do with the magic word hot and the ice cream in front of her. And then her little eyes went sideways, and she looked at him with that sly, "Oh, you've got to be joking" look. And then her little tongue curled onto the ice cream and enjoyed it. Okay? And what I got from that, and what I'm trying to bring here, is that my daughter deprogrammed herself from the idea that the word hot meant annihilation. Okay? In that moment, she got that hot might be hot and it might be incorrect information. Okay? And that's what we do not do with shame. We don't deprogram ourselves. So that sense of hot, which is the equivalent of bad, stays in us, and it stays burned into our souls, and we don't even know it's there, but whenever it surfaces again, we feel that same sense of total and complete annihilation, and it creates a dysfunction in us. And that's the power of shame. That's how absolutely devastating shame can be. Carrie, you had a question?